قايدين فرح بزيارة أبونا الشيخ فرح مستبشرين.
قايدين فرح بزيارة أبونا الشيخ فرح مستبشرين.
شوقوا مرح خلي العجب ومشي المرح
مستبشرين.
شوقوا بمحبة وفرح
شوقوا بمحبة وفرح.
الشيخ ودتكتوك فرح مستبشرين.
قايدين فرح بزيارة أبونا الشيخ فرح مستبشرين.
أقام كان صلاح للعاصمة وعظم صلاح
مستبشرين.
ساكن الغلب وانشرح
ساكن الغلب وانشرح.
أسمر نخيل ورمى البلاح مستبشرين.
قايدين فرح
Sudanese Sufi Figures الشيخ فرح ودتكتوك 1635 1732. Dear viewers, my great pleasure welcoming you to a new and renewed episode in which we embark together on a journey of historical and documentary exploration, revisiting illuminating chapters from Sudan's history and pausing at the lips of its distinguished figures and personalities, whose influence has left a profound mark on popular memory and the collective consciousness. In every stop along this journey, we draw closer to individuals who shape society through their wisdom, knowledge, and lived experiences, contributing to Sudan's social, cultural, and religious landscape across the ages. In today's episode, we turn to a figure regarded as one of the most renowned and remarkable personalities in Sudanese history. So in our encounter, the audience, we turn our attention to a figure, a personality regarded as one of the most renowned and remarkable figures in Sudanese history, whose prominence emerged during the era of French Sultanate, a man whose reputation transcended geographical boundaries and whose name became widely known among people far and near, until he came to symbolize wisdom, insight, and intellectual foresight. While speaking of a figure whose legacy in the Sudanese imagination became deeply associated with profound wisdom, memorable sayings, and remarkable vision, earning him the title the Wise Man of Sudan. However, his wisdoms, his predictions, his sayings, many of which have been passed down through generations, with people believing that some foretold events later realized in history. This is a personality that has long fascinated researchers, historians, and oral narrators alike, owing to his enduring presence in Sudanese cultural memory and the many sayings and stories attributed to him, which have become an integral part of Sudan's popular heritage. So, who is he? Who was this man? What is the historical reality of his life? How was his image shaped in the collective imagination? And what are the most notable sayings and narrative associated with his name? All of these questions will be answered through our encounters with him. However, the audience, join me on this compelling historical journey as I explore the life and legacy of Sheikh Farah Wadtaktouk, a figure who continues to occupy a special place in Sudanese memory as a symbol of wisdom and one of the most celebrated personalities in the history of Sudan. So the audience, our encounter, as I have stated shortly, will be devoted to one of Sudan's celebrated, famous men of wisdom in our presence, the audience, Sheikh Farah ودتكتوك. So just here I would like, before handling his biography, is just to start with this short introduction about him. I would like to start with Sudan has long been enriched by remarkable figures who bore the torch of knowledge, wisdom, and spirituality, contributing profoundly to the intellectual and moral fabric of society. Among these distinguished personalities stands Sheikh Farah Muhammad Isa Gadur, better known as Sheikh Farah ودتكتوك, a celebrated Sufi figure whose lineage traces back to Al-Abtah, the reputed ancestor from whom the Batahin tribe derives its names and genealogical identity, whose descendants are predominantly concentrated today in regions east of Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. This documentary introduces the life and legacy of Sheikh Farah, a figure whose moral authority, intellectual insight, and constructive social vision resonated deeply among the people of Sudan in his era and beyond. However, historical narratives concerning the precise date and location of Sheikh Farah's birthday vary considerably. Nevertheless, the most credible accounts place his birth in the 11th century Hijri in the region of Sinnar, the political and cultural center of the French Sultanate. And as a matter of fact, French Sultanate started in the year 1504 and ended by the year 1821. This historical setting significantly shaped his intellectual and spiritual development, as Sinnar functioned at the vibrant crossroads of Islamic scholarship, Sufi networks, and commercial exchange. Although deeply rooted in Sufi tradition, Sheikh Farah distinguished himself from certain contemporaries who became increasingly absorbed in worldly privileges, including wealth, vast landed estates, and enslaved laborers bestowed upon them by the rulers of the French Sultanate. Instead, his life exemplified an ethic of ascetic discipline, communal engagement, and moral responsibility. Sheikh Farah is a revered Sufi scholar and philosopher known as the wise man of Sudan, hailing from the Batahin tribe during the Sinnar Sultanate. He is celebrated for his sharp-wit, ascetic lifestyle and legendary prophecies that continue to resonate throughout Sudanese cultural heritage. He is a unique Sudanese character in which the legend mingled with truth, and his biography is still widely circulated by the people over ages, as he was a knowledgeable Muslim jurist, a wise reformist, and an eloquent poet whose verses, proverbs, and insights are still being repeated by the people as if he is a contemporary character. behind the nickname ودتكتوك. The surname Taktuk has generated considerable discussion in oral written traditions, with multiple interpretations offered regarding its origin. One narrative maintains that the nickname originally belonged to his father and was subsequently inherited by Sheikh Farah. Other accounts associated the title directly with him. The most widely circulated and culturally resonant explanation attributes the name to the rhythmic sound of his chest, described metaphorically as tug tug, resulting from his intense and frequent recitation of the Quran. Farah education and intellectual formation. About Sheikh Farah educational life and intellectual formation, Sheikh Farah has started or pursued his religious education under the guidance of some of the most eminent scholars of his time, including Sheikh Arbab al-Aqaid, Khatib Ammar ibn Abdul Hafiz al-Khatib, and Abdul Latif ibn al-Khatib Ammar. In keeping with the scholarly traditions of the period, he traveled extensively in pursuit of knowledge, moving between centers of learning before eventually settling down in the village of Al-Hujayrat near Sinar, in which he established his khalwa, he established his Sufi center, and at the very same time his village. So what I would like to tell here is that Sheikh Farah started definitely his religious education in Khalwa, and then with the memorization of the Holy Quran, he went to Khartoum and became a student to Sheikh Arbab al-Aqaid. And during this period, it has been told that he accompanied one of Sudan's most notable Sufi figures, that's Sheikh Hamad al-Damaryum and Sheikh Khojali Abujaz. So he accompanied those two figures, and together they constitute a group of students receiving instruction, receiving education under Sheikh Arbab al-Aqaid in Khartoum. So back in from his educational journey, Sheikh Farah came and established himself as both spiritual guide and a community reformer. Around him gathered a circle of disciples and students through whom he founded a religious social institution grounded in productive labor, self-discipline, and communal responsibility. His teachings emphasized the dignity of work and rejected idleness, dependency, and social withdrawal, thereby presenting a model of Sufism rooted not merely in spiritual devotion, but also in ethical action and social contribution. So the audience, I would like to reminding you that I'm presenting Sheikh Farah ودتكتوك as part of our presentations to the notable prominent Sudanese personalities and figures. So in our first encounter with Sheikh Farah, just what I would like to do is to introduce his biography in these short moments. So about his legacy, by the way, I would like to share his legacy before handling him in much more details. His enduring legacy occupies a distinctive place in Sudanese religious and cultural memory. Revered as a scholar, ascetic, and moral reformer. Sheikh Farah remains a symbol of a form of Sudanese Sufism that combines spiritual depths with practical engagement in society, leaving an imprint that extended beyond religious instruction into the ethical and communal life of his people. He has known throughout history with his foresight and prophecy. He is frequently compared to Nostradamus for his uncanny predictions. He foretold the invention of modern technologies such as cars and telephones using the poetic descriptions, walking houses, and talking through threads. Mainly his ever-living saying آخر الزمان السفر بالبيوت والكلام بالخيوط, and his prophecy comes true for people now. Travel through ships, that is on the sea, through cars, that is on the land, through airplanes, that is on the air. And the very same time they speak through telephone and through mobile. So all this and part of what I'm saying now will be the focus of our coming episodes and encounters. Furthermore, as I told when I started my speech presenting Sheikh Farah, he is known as a man of wisdom. And moreover, we provide examples out of his rich life indicating his wisdom. So his teachings are passed down through generations in the form of short, striking proverbs that offer moral guidance and social commentary. And he may be described as a philosopher, and his philosophy, rather than seeking wealth and power like many scholars of his era, he chose a life of humility, asceticism, and Sufi contemplation. So this is his own philosophy, his own way, his own understanding to the essence of Sufism and religion. However, the audience, what I have stated shortly is just a short biography about the life of Sheikh Farah. We have stated that he born during Fon Sultanate, this is from a side, and he belongs to the tribe of Al-Batahin, an Arab tribe migrated to Sudan during Fon Sultanate. Meanwhile, I have presented short notes about his religious education, and I have stated that he started his religious education in Khalwa, and then he continued his educational life, traveled to Khartoum, became a student under Sheikh Arbab al-Aqaid, studied under him so many books of fiqh, books of Sirah, and then came to settle in a place west of the Blue Nile that's taken the name of Al-Hujayrat, which a village that he has established in which he has his own religious center, and at the very same time it is the very same place in which he passed away and buried. So, what I would like to tell the audience, this is just our starting journey with Sheikh Farah. Since we try to present his experiences in life, which at the same time a reflection that enriches the Sudanese cultural life in many different and varied ways. In his speech on working, on his belief on the sanctity of working, on his speech on women, on his speech on men, on his speech on life in general. So his wisdoms will be taken in our coming episodes, as I told. Till seeing you in another episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.